Good evening and welcome to the Celebrity Telethon interview. And my name is Troy Richardson. I am one of the board members of Tiny Town. And tonight we have two of the celebrity actors involved with this amazing telethon taking place on May 7th, 2022 in downtown Los Angeles. So on behalf of Executive Director, which Chanel Amber Scott, Vice President April Mendoza, and our Treasurer, Veronica Ray, gentlemen, I want to, first of all, thank you and welcome you to the Tiny Town Telethon interview. Mr. Gilbert Brown and Mr. Gilbert Glenn Brown, I'm sorry, and Mr. Bill Duke. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for being part of this.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, we're going to get started with these questions, first of all, that I feel need to be asked. But Gilbert, when you see a homeless community, right, and you're in Los Angeles, how does that speak to your heart?
I mean, how can it not, honestly? I mean, seeing another human being in a situation that that really any one of us could find ourselves in by happenstance, really. It really, really breaks my heart. And it's like, to me, it's like, it's kind of crazy. The fact that we live in one of the wealthiest countries in the world, and we have the problem and the issue of homelessness on the scale that doesn't exist in some places. And even if it does exist, there is some sort of I think there's some sort of service or program in place that can actually assist and help them in a meaningful way, not just lip service, not just not just the laws being passed, but it's like, hey, this is a need that needs to be filled, and we're here to do that. And it's crazy making for me to see it every single time. And it's like you feel, when you see it, it's like you feel almost powerless, because like, how can one person kind of step in and do that? But honestly, it does take one person with an idea, with imagination, with a vision that says, yeah, I want to do something, and taking action.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Duke.
Well, it breaks my heart when I see children going to garbage cans, men and women on the street with no place to live. And a good percentage, unfortunately, of those people are veterans. These are people who went out of this country, put their lives on the line for us in this nation. And now they're homeless. They're not getting the psychological treatment or the medical treatment or the things. My opinion is, if you go and defend this country, you come back, you should never have to worry about anything anymore. Housing, food, transportation, your family. You put your life on the line. And so for me, the homeless situation is shameful. And I think that whatever we can do as individuals, we have to do, because the powers that be don't seem to be doing it. So we have to do something.
Amen. Amen. Next question, Gilbert. Have you had any experience with homelessness, whether it's directly or indirectly? Maybe you know someone in your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I do have friends and acquaintances I've come in contact with who've been challenged with that, but also me personally. I mean, fortunately, it was never a situation where I was out on the street not knowing exactly where my next meal was coming from or how I was going to move around and just exist. What the blessing that I had was that I had a community around me that supported me, like whether it was like, hey, I got a couch, you can crash here for a little while until you get back on your feet, until you get in another situation where you can do this. And that was a blessing that I had. And for me, I think that's the closest that I've come to that. but again, community is so important, and that's definitely something that that saved me from being in that same situation. And I've had, like I said, acquaintances who've actually been in that situation, and and young people also who I've mentored over the years that have been in that situation. And like what Bill was saying, as individuals, we need to step up and do something, and for me, in that situation, what I was able to do is I was able to help a young person as much as I could, until she was able to get herself moving, get herself reconnected to her family as well, and get back on her feet. And now she's out there in the world doing some really, really amazing things. And so those are like the two instances, me personally, and then a young person who I was mentoring.
Well, thank you. Thank you for pouring into that young lady. That's what it's going to take. Mr. Bill Duke.
I first moved to New York City from Boston University. I didn't have a real place to live. I was trying to get a job, etc. So a buddy of mine from BU let me sleep. He had a studio apartment, and the only other room other than the kitchen and the bathroom was the closet. And I'm 6'5", and
Wow.
the closet belonged to the cat he had. And so the cat and I used to fight every night about where I was going to sleep, where the cat was going to sleep. So that was my first experience. The second experience was I had just found no work, ended up begging for some money on the street in front of my apartment because I couldn't afford to pay the rent. And I'm begging one day, and this older Black lady comes by, and I ask her for some change, and she just looks at me and passes by. I ask another two people, then I feel a tap on my back, and I turn around, it was the same old lady, Black lady. And she looked in my eyes and she said, "Son, do your mama know y'all here doing this?" I never begged for nothing again. Just that one look she gave me with that one question. Because if my parents had seen me out there doing that, guess what? I wouldn't be here today.
Wow.
Because they didn't, my father worked 3 jobs, my mother worked 2. And they never got welfare or nothing. They didn't ask nobody for nothing. And they expected my sister and I to do the same thing. Whatever we had to do to survive, but not beg anybody for anything.
That is thought-provoking right there, what you just said, man. Next question, Gilbert. How does it make you feel to know that you're part of this tiny town movement and you're about to be part of the solution that is literally going to move towards eradicating homelessness globally, but starting in Los Angeles? How does that make you feel?
Speechless, humbled, proud to be a part of something that is about action, about taking steps to help. Because going back to what I was saying about community, it's so important, and Tiny Town is creating that. creating community, creating opportunities, creating a safe haven for people unfortunately who are without, and being a part of that is, I mean, I'm honored. I'm honored to just even to be talking to you right now, and Mr. Duke being on the line as well, and being involved in this. It's definitely it's inspiring as well, and it's definitely making me take a look at how I can help to make a difference, not out of a situation where it's going to give me some notoriety or it's popular or trendy at the time. It's just something that's close to my heart and something that I do truly believe in, and just seeing what the organization has planned. It's a lot. It's immense, and I'm only seeing it the possibilities grow from there. So I'm honored. I'm humbled. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the change that is going to come from the Tiny Town venture.
Well, we're equally honored to have you part of this. And my good friend, Mr. Bill Duke.
Yes, I don't know if you can still see me. My computer,
Yes, we see you and hear you.
Yeah.
here we go.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's an honor for me to be a part of this. If the dollars really get there and the organization really follows through, it means we're really making a difference in the lives of people. And it's not a new thing. It's called community. And when I was growing up, if my mother and father said to my sister and I, don't ride your bikes on the street, but on the sidewalk. If Miss Johnson next door saw my sister and I riding our bike on the street, she would come out of her house, stand in front of our bikes, snatch us off the bikes, and sit us on her living room couch. She would say, don't say a word. She would pick up her phone and call my father at work. She would say, Bill, they're riding their bikes on the street. My father would say, I'll be there in an hour. That was the longest hour of our lives, because we knew it was going to happen. But it was a community. It was, she didn't have to care about us riding the bikes on the street, but she did enough to actually come out of her house. And the thing is that what we're doing is the same thing. We're coming out of our homes and we're doing whatever we can as a neighborhood, not just as individual egos, as a neighborhood who cares about more than ourselves. And today, because my question is, what are we leaving our children? And what are we leaving our children's children? I mean, we can't continue to wait for the government or the state or some entrepreneur, whatever it is. We have to do something. That's why I'm so proud of what you, Troy, are doing, what Gilbert are doing, because it's not about you, it's about something bigger than you. It's about something bigger than you. It's about caring.
And that's why I got you closing these questions, man, because you just bring such awareness, right? With your words, man. And this is the community, right? We had a meeting last week with the officials in LA City, and they're part of this. And it's going to take them. It's going to take Gilbert. It's going to take Bill Duke. It's going to take the entire community. And that leads me into this next question, which in my mind is the most important question. It's like, how can we sustain this movement and not make it an isolated event? I know how we're gonna do that, but I want to get that from you gentlemen. How can we sustain this energy of this movement that we have right now?
I guess I would have to say it would definitely take everyone knowing and understanding that even one, contributing is definitely financial contributions are definitely helpful in terms of keeping the services and everything running, keeping the machine moving. But I think that whether it is financial or sweat equity, there's definitely someplace, somewhere, somehow everyone can contribute. A dollar helps out. Volunteering, to teach young people an art class a few times a month, that helps. All of that helps. But it's definitely going to take the community, the greater community as well. I love the fact that that you are also pulling the city in, and I'm hoping that also you guys remain in control of the entity of this movement, because I know that sometimes when other entities get involved, it can kind of shift the focus. If you know what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And keeping those people who need to be helped as paramount, as a focus, and putting them out there. I mean, I would love to hear, if it's possible. I know that for a certain reason you can't tell their stories, but I think there's something powerful about hearing the stories of these women and children, and hopefully the program will expand and include men and boys as well. I'm really hoping for that as well, because there's unfortunately, and as you know, Destroy, there are a lot of folks out there that need help. And the fact that you guys are doing this is just amazing. But I think it's going to take the community. It's definitely going to take financial equity, and also sweat equity, and also just getting the word out and hearing these stories. I think that's really gonna help immensely.
Yes. Powerful stuff, guys. This is moving. Mr. Duke, how can we sustain it, my brother?
Well, I agree with everything Gilbert just said. I mean, it's not, we have to stop being passive and waiting for things to disappear. We have to engage. And I think there should be a docuseries done on homelessness, whether Netflix, Hulu, or whatever backs it. Yeah. But it's on for like a month, and it's repeated. Because I think people have a misunderstanding about what homelessness is. It's not these irresponsible, lazy people. Right. There are some crazy people every place and everything. But the majority of the people that are homeless, a lot of them, unfortunately, Ronald Reagan shut down the mental institutes. He was president. A lot of people that are homeless are people who have some mental challenges. They should have been treated at some kind of facility. And no one did that. Therefore, they're homeless. They don't have the tools of survival. Another portion of the homeless community is foster kids. Because when you come out of foster care, after 18, they say you age out. If you have not been trained in a discipline to make you a living, then you're homeless and you're searching. So whatever it is that we can do to keep it on the minds and consciousness through media, particularly social media. Yeah. I think it should not just be a film that's made or docuseries that's made, but it's an ongoing visual audio experience that you keep adding to forever. You know, they just can't put it to the side. No, you're going to be back on this weekend or this week or whatever. Right. As long as the problem exists, they're going to put it in your face. And I believe there are enough people out there that really care. They may not know what to do, but we can help them with that. They really do care. They're not just cold-blooded that don't care about anything except themselves. They don't know what to do. And so I think if you provide a portal for those who want to help and inform them, it's like, it's like Gilbert was saying, it's like, it's not going away.
Yeah.
It's not going away.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you, with this team, including you two gentlemen, I really don't think homelessness has had a formidable opponent like it has right now. And that's what makes me excited, because we're ready for action, and we're making a lot of just progress in a short amount of time, and it's getting stronger every day. I see it. So leads me to our last and final question. Now, you gentlemen have long careers. Bill, a little bit longer than Gilbert's, but Gilbert, as I was looking at you, you've done quite a bit of work that I was unaware of. And Bill, without saying actor, producer, director, you've touched on so many subjects.
Yeah.
So many subjects. But this last question is there any role that you've ever played, or a role that you're familiar with that maybe you didn't play, one of your colleagues played, that has prepared you for this role that you're with Tiny Town as a homelessness advocate?
I honestly, I can't say that there's anything that has prepared me for it, but I guess like what I can say is that having an opportunity in my career to early on to play a man who was homeless and was dealing with emotional issues as well. And having to actually be out in the environment, actually have to live, to be on the street. That the blessing I have is that I can go home.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really the same thing, but that was the closest experience I had. And what Bill was just saying, there are people out there who want help. I had a situation where we were we had shot some stuff in downtown. We had shot some stuff in the Miracle Mile area, and I hadn't been in a situation where I begged for anything. Like maybe as a kid, parents, that's one thing, but as a man doing that, and being in a situation where that is what you had to do because you didn't know where your next meal was coming from, or you didn't know how you were going to get a roof over your head, and being and standing there, and just how people look at you, how people treat you, and they don't know your story, but they look at you and they treat you a particular way. But every so often there are these people who come along who are like, you know what? I don't know if this is going to help you, but here you go. Take this. Whether it was wrapped food, whether it was, a couple of dollars here and there. I mean, that let me know that there is humanity in the world, that there are people out there who do genuinely, earnestly care about other people. And I think the Tiny Town is just like a physical manifestation of that. People who care, who want to see change, who want to help other people. And again, I can't keep saying enough how honored I am to be a part of this.
Thank you, brother. And lastly, Mr. Bill Duke.
I just finished a short film called Vandal. And that person is suffers from a little dementia. His wife just died. He's an older man. He kind of ends up on the street. But in terms of this whole topic, in terms of its relevance to me, it goes back to my parents. You weren't allowed to even think about being homeless. You couldn't talk about it. All they want to know is what job are you going to get to feed yourself and put a roof over your head. And to be honest with you, they didn't want to hear no excuses. I mean, those days when we were growing up, if you gave them an excuse, that was called a whooping. Remember those days? See, my parents made you go in the backyard and get a switch. And my sister and I used to try to be so smart. We used to crack the switch, and the third time they hit us around, it would break. And they used to say, wait a minute. And they'd go back there and get a limb off a tree. And it didn't break. So what I'm saying is, having people in your life that give you values, particularly having a mother and a father in the house. I mean, there are plenty of homes have a single parent, but ideally speaking, they're not going to be perfect people, but having a mother and father in your life that set certain values and disciplines, I think is extremely important. And sometimes for kids who don't have that, men like you and I, the three of us, have to step up. Because the men in our community when I was growing up, they stepped up. In my neighborhood, there was this pimp named Noble Johnson. And he used to have the newest car, Cadillac, 2 Cadillacs. He pimped young ladies. But he moved to our neighborhood on Falk Hill Avenue. And my uncles had been to the war. They brought back guns with them and stuff. And so one day they went over to Mr. Johnson's house and said, Mr. Johnson, please, you must understand us. We're not condemning what you do, sir. But you must never talk to or approach any woman, girl, or child in this neighborhood. You understand? Noble Johnson lived on Falk Hill Avenue for 20 years. He never spoke to, he never touched a woman or girl in that neighborhood. Because he knew there would be consequences. And that's what we got to do as Black men particularly. We have to start registering some consequences. And when I say consequences, I don't mean playing checkers in the chess game. I'm talking about playing chess. Now, Malcolm X said it best. Malcolm X said, no matter how good a football player you are, if the name of the game is baseball, you better get yourself a damn bat. He said, we're running around the bases with a football in our hand. And they're telling us, you're some good little football players. Look at Troy, look at, you know, look at Bill. They keep running around them bases with that football. Can I start playing chess, guys? And we're good chess players. I mean, we're really the alchemists. You know, Jesus was the first alchemist. He turned water into wine. But they gave us guts. We turned them into chitlins. They gave us hooves. We turned them into pig feet. And guess what? They were so good, they started eating them. Are you feeling me at all? We got to call upon our alchemy.
Did you just drop the mic, Bill?
No. I ain't
You-
dropped the mic. No. Gilbert dropped the mic before me.
Hey, listen, you understand, this is why this movement is going to be impactful, because you have people like you two gentlemen that are bringing introspect and bringing guts to this movement. And that's what we need. We got to be bold. We're not trying to sneak up on nobody. We want you to see us coming, right? Because it's time to hold people accountable. How can we, Gilbert said, how can we be in this country with all this money going around and we still have this level of homelessness that you really don't see in any other part of the world? It's unacceptable. You know, you got all these sports teams in LA, all these athletes, and But gentlemen, again, thank you for being part of this on behalf of the entire Tiny Town team, the staff, the executive board, the women and children that are currently downtown in beautiful, warm apartments. They're not in cars anymore. They're not on the street. It's working. It's working, folks. So tune in May 7th, 5 p.m. Eastern to 8 p.m. Eastern. Going to be an exciting time, especially downtown Los Angeles. It will be streamed live for those of you who can't make it. And it's going to be historical. You will be on the right side of history with this homelessness movement. So Gilbert Glenn Brown, Mr. Bill Duke, thank you, gentlemen. God bless you. And please, please, please be safe. Thank you again.
God bless you, brother, too. Thank you for doing God's work.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Take care.
All right.